You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack, and you may find yourself in another part of the world, and you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down, letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again, after the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. And you may ask yourself, how do I work this? And you may ask yourself, where is that large automobile? And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. Same as it ever was. 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 Letting the days go by. Let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by. Water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone. Once in a lifetime. Water flowing underground. You may ask yourself, what is that beautiful house? You may ask yourself, where does that highway go to? And you may ask yourself, am I right? Am I wrong? And you may say to yourself, my God, what have I done? Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again, into the silent water, under the rocks and stones. There is water underground. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. The look on my hand was. Time isn't holding up. Time isn't after us. Same as it ever was. The same as it ever was. 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 Same as it ever was.
We've still got people finding their way in, so let's enjoy one more part of a song while we're here. It's a beautiful sunny day, so we got to wish hard for summer.
I've been dreaming, friendly faces. I've got so much time to kill. Just imagine people laughing. I know someday we will. And even if it's far away, get me through another day. Cover me in sunshine, shower me with good times. Tell me that the world's been spinning since the beginning, and everything will be alright. Cover me in sunshine. From a distance, all these mountains are just some tiny hills. Wildflowers, they keep living high. They're just there.
All the way in the back.
I've been missing yesterday, but what if there's a better place? Cover me in sunshine, shower me with good times. sunshine.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay. Oh, I'm going to say good morning because it just still feels like morning to me. Good morning. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to a new semester. Welcome to hopefully sensation and perception, and I'm in the right room. My name is Dr. Brian Metcalf. Students call me Dr. B. Before I forget, I want to introduce a distinguished member of the audience today. One of your TAs hiding all the way in the back corner, Mr. T.J. Journey. Thanks for being here, T.J. Thanks for the free movie the other night. That was fun. I'll be introducing the rest of your fine TA squad as soon as I actually get it up and running. Let's see. First day is always just sort of like making it up as I go along. We'll dive into things a little bit more fully starting next time. We kind of have to ease our way into a semester, if you ask me. It feels like we just finished, doesn't it? If you were here last semester, doesn't it feel like, when you're back on campus, like you never left? Except like, what's all this white shit laying around all over the place, okay? Get used to it. I don't see any melting in our future for a long time. Spring semester should be called winter semester. Let's be real, that's what it is, all right? There's such a wide variation between the first day of the fall and the last day of the fall semester. We go from about 90-something to, freezing. And in the spring semester, we go from freezing to freezing, all right? So many of my last days here so far, I've been here 7.5 years now. I'd say the majority of the time we've had snow during the last week of classes in the spring semester. Several times we had snow on the last effing day of class. The next day is summer vacation, summer break, and we've had snow on our last day. So let's really hope that we get this out of our system this month, okay? Unless you really love it, then, well, that's your bag. I'm from Wisconsin originally. I should be used to this, but 17 years in Hawaii kind of beat that out of me, all right, before coming here. In a few minutes, we'll get to know each other a little bit better. I'll give you chances to get to know me a little bit. I want to just dive right in and not, a lot of classes start with that really boring shit of like, let's go over the syllabus and what we're going to do this semester and the rules and regulations and all that kind of garbage. There's a few inevitable things we'll have to do, and maybe I'll save that for next time. But instead, I thought I'd dive in with what's my favorite S&P thing, is you're going to see if you haven't, and I bet you haven't already, because I just turned the course page on last night. But if you've had a chance, anyway, when you have a chance to look at that, and please do before I see you next time, you'll see that one of your assignments is going to be to do a presentation called My Favorite S&P Thing, because I can't think of a more creative name for that. And no, don't panic. You won't have to stand in front of this room and do it to the whole audience. That would take us all semester. We'd have to start tomorrow to get through all of you. But instead, you'll do about a 5-minute-ish presentation that you'll record on video and submit a link to that privately for just people like your TA and me to watch. And don't worry, it's not going to be in front of everybody. How many of you have had me for a class already? I know I see some familiar faces here. So thank you for being brave and foolish or whatever it is that led you to register for another class with me. But anyway, I'd love to see you. Thanks for being here. And I'm looking forward to getting to know. I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you, but I know that's really, really impossible. No, it's not impossible. It's unlikely. God, it's not at all impossible. And I'm going to say this over and over again this semester. I will always be trying to teach like I did when I was in Hawaii and prior to being here. I've always been at smaller schools with smaller classes, and I still teach, even though I'm in an auditorium that holds 400 almost, and there's about 100 of you or more, or whatever it is. I still teach like it's a class of 25 or ish. All right? So, but you getting to know Me is going to be the easy part. Me getting to know you is up to you as well, all right? So this will be the first of about 100 times I'm going to say this to you. You've heard that expression, it's not what you know that matters, it's who you know that matters, okay? That's really kind of pessimistic thing to learn, or to hear when you're a college student taking a ton of classes and you have a ton of learning and memorization to do that. Someone saying it's not what you know that matters, because that doesn't matter. But anyway, that whole saying, you've heard it before, is only a fraction true. The second part of that is something that I didn't learn in life until really late. When somebody said it out loud to me, and I was like, that's true. It's not who you know that matters, it's who knows you that matters. All right? It won't matter that you know me. All right? If you don't know me already, I'll be in front of you 3 days a week and on videos, and you'll get to know me, sickeningly well, all right? But it's not going to help you if I don't know you, okay? And that's hard. Look at all the people in this room. Look at all the people on this campus. It's really easy to feel anonymous. Maybe some of you came to a big university kind of liking that anonymity. That's okay, but I'm going to try to encourage you, whether you like that or not, to make it your mission while you're here to get your professors to know you, all right? Okay? So I'll be telling you where I live, over in the, what's the name of my building? Clifton Court Hall, okay? I'll encourage you to, I've got some posted office hours. I don't even know when they are. People don't come to office hours, so I think they're 1:30 to 2:30, basically right after class, I guess, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I guess I do know my office hours. But to be honest with you, for years now, on a daily basis, I never think to myself, oh, it's office hours, because students don't come regularly to office hours. I'm there, hopefully, okay? Anyway, I'm there a lot. I'm there a lot. And you're welcome to pop in unannounced, and if it's a bad time, I'll tell you. But if you'd rather not make that journey and, be disappointed, then just let me know when you'd like to come, and we'll confirm a time, and maybe we'll pop out and I'll buy you a cup of coffee, huh? All right? I'm making that statement in front of 100 people, thinking maybe 100 people will come and ask me to go for coffee. It might be a really fucking expensive semester, okay? And I'll still make, until I have to not make that offer, I'm making that offer, all right? So make it your mission to get to know professors, and more importantly, for them to get to know you. Bosses, supervisors, all those kind of people, okay? We need to know who you are to help you, all right? I get requests every single semester. I got some floating in my inbox right now, waiting for me to reply from students that I don't know, asking me for a letter of recommendation. That's a biggie. Me said, a letter? Starting with, I don't know who you are? That breaks my heart to have to reply to that kind of an email and say, I want to help you so badly, but I have to look you up and find out what your grade is, and that's all I know. Okay? So don't let that happen to you, all right? So I'm telling you this while it's early enough in both a semester, and maybe this is your last semester, maybe this is, I doubt, your first semester, but anyway, everything in between. So you got time. A whole semester is a lot of time. So get us to know you. All right, enough about that. So anyway, I got off track. I was going to tell you that one of your assignments was to do this, thing called My Favorite S&P thing, all right? So it's just whatever winds up being your favorite topic in this class. You'll do a little presentation about it. And so, I don't know, I've had this assignment for years and years in all my classes. And somebody finally asked me, Dr. B, what's your favorite S&P thing? And I was like, I don't know, every day of class is my favorite. I don't know, I have so many. So anyway, I'm going to try to talk about some of my, let's dive into some material that I'll forget that I talked about today. And so when it unfolds later in the semester, you're going to hear some of this probably all over again, but that's okay. So, and I can't do my own assignment. My assignment is pretty strict, hey, it's only about 5 minutes that I want you to do this. It's almost like a equivalent of that so-called elevator pitch. Right? So that's going to be your challenge. Right now you might be thinking like, oh my God, I got to talk for 5 minutes. So you're going to find 5 minutes really challenging to stick to. I can't talk in 5 minutes. I can't even tell you about this assignment in 5 minutes, okay? So that's going to be your challenge, not the opposite. So anyway, I'm not even going to try to stick to 5 minutes. I'm going to stick to the rest of the class, and I probably still won't even finish, all right? So you're going to see a lot of this class is about vision, all right? A lot. When you get the book or access to the Mind Tap with the book, and I'll say more about the book later, you'll see that, gosh, the majority of, almost like, I don't know, how many? There's 16 total chapters. We're going to cover 14 of them. I don't know, 12 or so of them, or 11, 12 of them, I think, are about vision. So this is going to be the first of like weeks of coverage of vision. So what is, light is our stimulus for vision. So let me start this by asking you like a simple question, okay? How far can an ant see? Feel free to just shout out a guess. Don't worry about being wrong. Just shout out a number. 5 feet, I heard. How many thought, wow, shorter than that? Admit it. How many were like, that seems kind of long? How many were like, longer, had an estimate that's longer? Go ahead, shout out some numbers, either shorter or longer. 15 what? Where are you? You threw your voice, okay? 15 feet, I'm up to 15 feet. Do I hear 20? Do I hear 20, 25, 30, 30, going for 30. What else? Any other estimates? We're experiencing what's another phenomenon. I can't be a psychologist and not point out everything, okay? We're experiencing something in cognitive psychology called anchoring. Anchoring. We're now anchored to 5 feet as like, well, okay, how is it relative to 5 feet? If somebody had said 5 million miles, we'd have been anchored at 5 million miles. And like, okay, so anyway, I'm going to put you out of your misery and just sort of move on. We can sit here all day and try to guess. I'll change the question real quickly, though, and just like you were thinking about an ant. Now think about how far can you see? Now suddenly, doesn't that seem like a more complicated question? For some reason, an ant probably felt small and the distance felt small. That's why I heard like 5 feet, 15 feet. Okay? But you, like, well, I can see further than 5 feet. I can see some of you in the back of the room, okay? Blurry, but okay, how far can you see? Is that still kind of a hard question? Like, so you and the ant can probably see the sun, right, at least? Okay, that's like, 91 million miles-ish away, all right? You can see stars that are, light years away, stuff like that, okay? So it's, light is a stimulus that moves, that can travel a great big, like an unfathomable distance, right? We talk about seeing, things that are, they got telescopes that can, pick up the radiation from the fucking Big Bang, 14 point whatever billion years ago, okay? So for 14 plus billion years, this light has been traveling, screaming towards us and falling on our instruments and maybe your retinas if you are looking up that way. So light is an amazing stimulus. So here are some fun by saying that fast.
Here comes the sun.
The sun. All right, so anyway.
Here comes the sun.
This is going to be, I think, this was astonishing for me to learn several years ago. All right, so, a photon is that packet of energy that physicists talk about. Light is both a packet of, it's a thing and a wave. And I don't know how to wrap my head around that other than to incorrectly think of it as a photon wiggling, but it's not, okay? So anyway, light is both an object and a wave. But anyway, the object is, the particle they call a photon, all right? So a photon is produced, in the sun when, if my physics is right, when two hydrogen atoms get, compressed together because of the crushing, gravitational, pull inside the core of the sun, and they, it just crushes them together and creates helium, and a photon is, boop, squirted out for some reason, okay? So that packet of energy is created as a photon. And that little sucker will jiggle-jaggle in, ricocheting off of other photons and atoms and things for an average of 100,000 years before it escapes the surface of the sun and then screams for another 8 minutes to here we're pretty much sealed up. Well, there's a few photons coming in these closed, weird blinds, okay? Some of the, if you look at the blinds right now, some of those photons hitting your retina right now might have started their life 100,000 years ago on average. Isn't that kind of mind-blowing? Now, here's a really mind-blowing thing, okay? Now, sorry, I'm going to go into a little physics here, a little quantum physics here, which I know almost nothing about, but enough to be scared. So they talk about, light, the speed of light is constant, and therefore something has to be relative. So time is relative, okay? So time is relative, and it depends on how fast the object, you or the object, is moving, okay? So a photon is moving at the speed of light. It's the definition of light. It's moving at the constant speed of light, and so time slows down the faster you go, to the extreme that if you're a thing, a photon is the only thing we know of that can do this, moving at the speed of light means that time has slowed down so much that it stops. If you were a photon, time would stop. So the moment you are created and the moment you hit a retina is the same moment. Our perspective is on average 100,000 years. The photon's like, boom, hits your retina. Those ones that are traveling 14 billion light years, they were created 14, in our perspective, 14 whatever billion years ago, and if they hit your retina now, the same instant. That's the deepest thing you'll learn today, okay? The most trivial, but the deepest. All right, so anyway, and it takes 8 minutes. So the next time you're looking at a sunset, keep in mind that, when you watch the sun finally dip below the horizon, that actually happened 8 minutes ago. I mean, the sun itself was, already below the horizon, because the sun's moving, you're still, the sun's moving, All right, so anyway, what is light? What we call the light that we see. You've doubtlessly seen images like this, and maybe you know all about this. Probably, maybe you are seeing this for one of the first times, but I bet you've seen something like this. And electromagnetic energy is all these different kinds of, these are all the same things, just at different wavelengths. Okay, so what we call visible light is just this wee little portion tucked between ultraviolet and infrared. Things like microwaves and radar and TV and radio waves, like, the internet is, radio waves. The internet is like screaming through your body right now. Isn't that kind of like a little uncomfortable? TikTok is screaming through you right now, okay? And on the other end, you got X-rays and gamma rays, and, too many of these turn you into the Incredible Hulk, obviously, and then whatever cosmic rays. Anyway, so we're dealing with this tiny little sliver, okay? Have you ever wondered how slivery that sliver is? This is going to blow your mind too, okay? I'm not going to play it. I think I got a video, but I'm not going to play it. I'll just tell you the story. I'm just going to steal the line from that video. If you imagine that range of electromagnetic energy that I just had, compressed on a graph, as being the length of a highway between New York and Los Angeles. However, what is that? I don't even know. 3,000-ish miles, 2,500 miles, okay? What we call visible light, the visible light portion of that spectrum is the size of a dime on that highway, all right? So this all-important little, completely trivial piece of the electromagnetic spectrum is like, we have a brain devoted largely to that. 2/3 of our brain or so is devoted to interpreting that information, and none of the others, What does the internet feel like? What does it smell like? What do X-rays taste like? We didn't evolve to sense any of those other things in any way. This little spectrum we have evolved to deal with, okay? So there's all kinds of astonishing, you're going to see some like mind-melding mind-blowing kinds of phenomenon. This is going to be one of them, okay? So you know, S&P is full, we've got lots of illusions, especially visual illusions coming our way, and that's always fun. Everybody loves illusions, right? Okay? This simplest one is my favorite, okay? This one is just like, every single time I think about it, including in a few moments, I'm gonna just be like, wow, okay? So I'm gonna use a screen to demonstrate the screen's illusion, okay? So we don't have to even imagine this, but anyway, this is meta, okay? So this is the illusion, seeing black on a white screen, just a little preview, okay? Being able to see black on a white screen is my favorite illusion, okay? Let me explain why that's so fascinating, okay? So your devices and these device hanging from the ceiling creating this is a projector. And your devices, TVs, your phones, computer screens, those projectors are beaming light, okay? And you already know this because you've heard this, but they're only, the light that's squirting out of those devices is only red, green, and black, red, green, and blue, okay? Red, green, blue monitors, okay? The combinations of those 2 or 3 can create the millions of different hues and colors that we can see, all right? But that's all they're beaming, okay? So anyway, right now, humor me one more time. Like, what color would you describe the screen itself? Not how it looks right now, but what color is the screen? Just say it out loud for me. It's white, right? At least a beige. It's maybe not the most brilliant. It's a white. It's white. Right now it looks very, grayish, and part of it looks very white. Okay. Anyway, it's white. It's white. Just all by itself, it's white. Okay. That thing is projecting what looks like making it look whiter, which is already an illusion. Okay. And it's not beaming white light at all. It's beaming all 3 of its 3, red, blue, and green gizmos are all on at full blast to create in your nervous system the illusion of white. Okay? Now, I can turn on just some of the blue beams, and for the little square there, it's creating blue. Okay, that's not very surprising. It's just projecting blue. So we see a blue square. I could turn on the green lights and we can see green. I can turn on the red lights and we can see red. Okay, again, all 3 of them combined create white. Now, here's the illusion. I can beam a black light onto the screen. Can I beam a black light? There's no such thing as black. You've heard that term, black light. That's usually like that that ultraviolet, in discos and stuff, when your white shirt glows in the dark. Okay, we call that black light for some reason. That's not black at all. That's really, anyway, that's not, the projector is not beaming a black square. That's not physically possible. What is it doing? For that little square up there, the projector is just not projecting anything. Those LEDs are off, and the rest of them around are on. And tell me once again, what is that patch of screen? What color is that patch of screen? It's fucking white. I promise you, it's white. And that looks jet absolute black. That's kind of weird, isn't it? That's not kind of, that's really weird, okay? So everything you see is made up by your brain. We think it's like a representation of what's actually out here in the world. There's physical objects in this room, including maybe you. There's a whole philosophy about that. Maybe you're the only real thing here, and you're imagining the rest of the room full of people. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe someone else is imagining all of us. Anyway, that's a whole branch of philosophy. But let's just assume that, we're real. The chair you're sitting in is real. Objects, the physical stuff is tangibly real. Let's just start with that, assumption, which again can't be proven true or false. But everything that you see is being interpreted by that trivialist piece of all of the magnetic, electromagnetic energy bopping around in here. So what does like if you saw an X-ray, what would it look like? You might imagine like it would look like bones. I don't know, maybe, or infrared, like must be, I don't know. It sounds red, but every time you see an infrared picture, it's green for some reason. Anyway, like that's not what they look like. Anyway, everything you see is an illusion. And that's like just my simplest favorite one. Like I can make black appear like jet black, and right now, like there's no, like it's white. The whole damn screen is white, and yet we're seeing different hues of white and grays and colors, and the simple colors like red, blue, and green are like simple to understand, but what if I, show you yellow? How do you get this? We're gonna learn all that. How do you see yellow when there's no yellow lights? There's no light beaming out that's yellow. Like there, that's not yellow. There's no yellow light. That's red and green shining together, and your brain says, I think that's yellow. Now, you can create yellow. The sun can create, a wavelength that's yellow, or things bouncing anyway, but your brain creates the color. Your brain creates the color. The colors aren't out here. That's my next little color, just doesn't exist. Color doesn't exist, all right? So, you look around the room and you see some of you are, in a red chair, some of you are in a black chair. You all have different colors on, and we see colors all over the place, and it's hard to deny, but I'm here to tell you that every single color you're seeing on every single thing is an illusion. It doesn't exist out here on the objects, on the people, on the screen. It's only in your head. It's only in your head. I'll prove it to you I don't know if you'll believe me, but here's some evidence, okay? I should have brought in you're gonna see all this again when we talk about color, but I'll bring in my machine then, okay? So right now I'm gonna hopefully not give you a seizure, because I'm gonna turn this on and have it spin, and it's just really, look away if it makes you feel like throwing up or passing out, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna turn it on, but before I do, forget the illusions, but let's talk about colors if it's real. What colors do you see in that wheel? Any colors besides red and black? If you do, they're just artifacts of crappy lighting and projectors, but that's just a black and white circle, okay? With this weird pattern on it. I'm gonna spin it, and if you've never seen this spun before, you all can imagine what is it gonna look like when I spin it? Well, here, I'll show you, okay? So, and I'm making do with anyway, it's spinning at a given speed right now. Look at the rings. Raise your hand if you see any colors. Look around the room, and some of you are not going to see colors, and you're going to be like, what the fuck? Why are so many, at least 2/3 of you raised your hand. And I don't know, a quarter, some of you are, just don't see any colors. Now the colors, for the people that don't see colors, do you agree that none of them are vivid? They're not like that yellow that was up there a moment ago. They're muted. They're really dull colors, right? And I got two options. I can look on this screen, I can look on that screen, and I see some different. I don't know. Some of them look a little like blue, navy. I see green. I see rust colored, like a rusty orange or something, rusty brown. And some of you were like, what the fuck's wrong with you or me or who? Okay, so I don't know how to explain why some of you don't see color. Some of you don't. And some of you don't see it on here. When I got an actual one I can bring in and spin, and maybe some of you might then be able to see it on the real deal, and some of you who could see it here won't see it. I don't know. I don't know if there's a correlation or pattern. If you never see it, you'll never see it. But anyway, some of you will never see colors on here. That's okay. You'll just have to take my word for it that there's no colors up. So already you're like, yeah, color doesn't exist. I don't see any. Okay? But I'll stop it again just to, those lights those colors where you were seeing, I promise you, were not somehow produced by the projector, which is only using red, blue, and green. So quite honestly, you were seeing red, blue, and green. But there aren't like if you were to take out your camera while it's spinning and take a photo, a still photo of it, you'll see it frozen as, like that, black and white, okay? So anyway, it's not created by the projector, it's created in your head, okay? The thing is called Benham's wheel after the guy was a toy maker who made spinning tops, and he just painted different patterns on a top, and he just, like painted this one on a whim, spun it, was like, holy fuck. And we call it Benham's wheel. I'll spin it really fast. Hopefully God, that almost gives me a seizure. Anyway, that's not even fast. That's just now blinking. Anyway, I don't see any colors on there. All right. How am I doing? What time does this class even end? 1:15? Okay, got loads of time. All right, let me show you another little video with another cool demonstration. Again, I'm trying to make the case that color doesn't exist out here in the real world, despite how grippingly real it is and how we will talk and I talk about colors and, but in reality, it doesn't exist out here.
What I need you to do is stare at the screen. There's going to be a dot in the middle of the screen, and you're going to keep your eyes on that dot.
Before we hear from our volunteers, let's give you a chance to play along. Just like before, stare at the dot in the center of this image.
Yeah, do this. Stare at that dot.
Are you staring at the dot? Here's a tip to make the colors appear for longer. When the image changes to black and white, make sure your eyes remain focused on the dot. Ready? Here we go.
Boom, full color.
Do you see this castle in full color? Now, if you move your eyes, you'll see it's actually just a black and white image. Pretty wild, huh? Let's see if our volunteers experienced what you just did.
Keep your eyes on the dot.
I just saw color. Everything was colored, the trees were green, and everything looked that way.
What if I was to say that the colors were put there by your brain, but they were never on the screen?
I wouldn't believe you.
What if I was to promise?
You can promise all you want. I know what I saw.
That's crazy.
Are you as surprised as they are? Our volunteer Paul says it best.
If you're telling me I didn't see color, then where is it coming from?
That's a good question. How is your brain painting this black and white picture in full color when there isn't any color at all? We've asked Yale psychologist Brian Scholl the same question.
And you'll have to wait for an explanation when we cover this for real. Okay, all right, so a long time ago I was in Vegas and there was this magic shop and this thing was spinning in the window, and so I was like, I had to take a picture, so anyway, I have one like that, not as good, anyway, you'll see mine when I bring it in, it's about that size, but here, this doesn't have anything to do with color, but it's another one of my favorite things, so stare at that spiral right in the center there, just keep your eyes focused on the center of that thing. And I'm going to let it play for, I can't remember if this is automated and it's going to switch on its own, but let's stare at that center and just kind of watch those circles moving inward and inward and inward, and just listen to the sound of my voice. And you're getting really sleepy, but keep watching the center of that and listen to my voice, and if you'd reach into your purse or your wallet and pass everything to the front of the room now. No, anyway, I'm not trying to hypnotize you, but just keep staring at the center here, okay? This is not timed. I'm going to click it and just keep staring at that spot and watch what happens. Did my weird photo just get really, really weird? Was I just like all oogie? Okay. Yeah, why are you all laughing at me? Oh, that just reminds me. I'm going to be back in that room tonight. Tonight I'm going to see one of my former students, Ben Levin. He's performing that's at Memorial Hall down in OTR. So I'll be there tonight. Making that look. I don't have the same jacket on. Anyway, what you just experienced is called a motion after effect. and we'll cover that another time. That's another one of my favorite things, all right? So anyway, that was just a little segue. That had nothing to do with color, but since I was spinning wheels, I wanted to show you that one. So anyway, you know, if it doesn't exist out here in the real world, how do we perceive it, all right? We're gonna cover that in great detail. We got full chapters coming our way. So anyway, at some point, we're gonna think we're finally done with vision, and maybe right now you think we're finally done with vision, but in a moment you're gonna see that we're not. So this is another one of my favorite little segments. This one has to do, well, the intersection between vision and hearing, okay? So there's a little preview, not a preview, but a little, you know, to set the stage for this. Both with the colors and, you know, seeing, you know, you heard someone say, you can tell me all you want, but I know what I saw. Okay, you've heard phrases like seeing is believing, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, you know, I mean, you know, that's really gripping, you know, evidence. That's how we, you know, perceive the world, right? It makes sense of the world by, if we have good vision and can see, you know, vision is so important. We see it, and it just, you know, when someone starts saying things don't exist, it's counter to what the evidence is, all right? We probably all start with this sort of feeling like we're just kind of seeing, hearing, smelling, feeling, tasting the world as it really is. We've evolved to like, that would make sense. Like, of course, this must be how it is. Why would we be creating something that's not real? So what we're experiencing matches some of the energies out here in the world. There's energies out here, and our brain is like, well, here's what I'll do with that energy. So this critter can like make sense of it and navigate and, you know, eat and not get eaten and reproduce. Okay, that's basically why, you know, this all is here. And so, you know, back to like hearing, like we assume like what we hear is happening out here. You've heard that philosophical question, like, does a tree falling in the woods with no one or nothing there to hear it make a sound? What's your take on that? If a tree, you know, if there's no people, nothing with ears, if there's no creature with hearing to witness the crash of a tree, does it make a sound? And I'll argue, no. Even if you're there, it's not making a sound. It's jamming air molecules like everything, like my voice is right now, like squeaking chair a moment ago is, and everything that we hear is due to some, usually in the air, some molecules, you know, compacting and retracting real rapidly, and they're wiggling our eardrums and wiggling that apparatus and wiggling the neurons, and, you know, and we hear a sound that matches what makes sense. Okay? Well, that makes sense. That's the assumption, but as we're going to see, your brain creates so much of it. In some cases, it like overrules what's really happening out here in the real world. So let me show you this. Classic illusion.
At any one moment, we are being bombarded by sensory information. Our brains do a remarkable job of making sense of it all. It seems easy enough to separate the sounds we hear from the sights we see. But there is one illusion that reveals this isn't always the case.
Ba, ba, ba.
Have a look at this. What do you hear?
Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba.
But look what happens when we change the picture.
Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Ba.
And yet, the sound hasn't changed. In every clip, you are only ever hearing ba with a B.
Ba, ba, ba.
It's an illusion known as the McGurk effect.
Ba.
Take another look.
Ba.
Concentrate first on the right of the screen.
Ba.
Now to the left of the screen.
Ba.
The illusion occurs because what you are seeing clashes with what you are hearing.
In the illusion, what we see overrides what we hear. So the mouth movements we see.
We'll get to that too. So anyway, That's going to be maybe this is the first time I'm going to use this phrase of probably almost daily. Top-down versus bottom-up processing. You've maybe heard of those terms in other contexts or even this context, but let me quickly explain what that means. Bottom-up, in terms of sensation perception, refers to almost literally the fact that all of your cranial nerves, which are bringing in things from the eyes, ears, and the rest of all the sensory information is flowing in cranial nerves that are basically in the bottom of the brain and going up, okay? And then at the very top, for us humans, we've got all this cortex, highfalutin cortex, especially in the prefrontal lobe, but all over, that's the top, okay? The top is telling you what you're experiencing, okay? You've maybe heard this, that all of your senses except smell, which we'll cover later, go first to a little object in the center of your brain called the thalamus. When I was taking classes a million years ago, about all we knew about the thalamus back then, and we just really simplified it and said it was a relay station for all the senses except hearing, except smell. and that's all, then goes on to higher areas. Visual information goes to the back of the brain for primary visual processing. Auditory information goes to the temporal lobes, and touch information and where your body parts are goes to the parietal. Anyway, so it goes up for higher processing to those areas, okay? So here's a really interesting factoid. That thalamus contains, okay, let's go back to vision. It's got, don't quote me on this because I don't know my numbers. Just say 1 million, I don't know, I might be way off, but there's maybe about 1 million in each optic nerve, individual fibers coming from your retinas, okay? Going first to the thalamus, then projecting back to the occipital cortex, okay? There are way more fibers going down to the thalamus from all, that cortex and the rest of the cortex. Way more fibers are going to the thalamus from above than the information coming in from below, the sensory information flowing in. That's a fairly newish, since I was a kid, a fairly new discovery, okay? And begs the question, well, why would there be more information going to the thalamus from above than if it's just a passive relay for, it's the cortex telling you what you're seeing, telling you what you're hearing, okay? And vision is so massively important that it overrules the other senses, in this case, hearing. So trust the guy, trust me, they were only saying ba with a B every single time. They never said it with an F, not once. Okay? But your visual system overruled it when you saw the lips making an F, sound. And you literally heard a different sound. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Admit it. That's like, huh? Okay? This won't work in here very well because you're all too close, but watch my fingers and listen. All right? Lots of interesting things going on in that really simple thing right there, okay? If you're watching it, light travels way faster, like 1 million times faster than sound, okay? The light reflecting off my hand is hitting your retinas like virtually instant, at the speed of light, okay? The sound is moving in, hundreds of miles an hour, not, speed of light sounds rate, okay? So you're seeing it way before you're hearing it, but your experience is at the same time. And I don't know if you'd hear it, I forget the magic number, but it's something like 150 feet. I think that's the magic number. Once you're 150 feet away, only then do you experience a delay between, and then you things that are further away, right? You've heard, you've all experienced things like you saw happen, like fireworks that are far away. Like right? You've experienced that. Thunder, lightning, right? Thunder happens and, you see a lightning bolt and then you can count how many miles away it is with some mnemonic. All right? Anyway, because sound travels much slower. So anyway, beyond about 150 feet, it sort of seems to be the magic number where inside of that range, your brain just is like, I'm going to make that happen at the same time. Even though I am experiencing it at 2 different times, I'm going to tell you, the person inhabiting this brain, that you're seeing and hearing it at the same time. That's kind of weird. That's kind of neat magic that your brain does for you, okay? So that you're not all confused going like, those fingers are moving, and why do I hear a snap a fraction of a second later? Okay? Top-down processing.
See as we look.
We got 2 minutes. I'll close with this last little fun demonstration. Okay, this is one of my heroes, and I don't have time to talk about why he's interesting to me, except it just very coincidentally happens to be National Skeptic Day today. He's the founder of a foundation, of an organization called Skeptic Society, publisher of a magazine called The Skeptic. Maybe someday I'll talk more about him. But anyway, it's a very neat coincidence that Alexa told me this morning that today is National Skeptics Day. Here's my favorite skeptic. Oh, it didn't start where I wanted it to. Let me find it. Hold tight, just a second. Here we go. I think it's here.
These messages are hidden in electronic phenomena. There's a reverse. These messages are hidden in electronic phenomena. There's a reversespeech.com webpage in which I downloaded this stuff. Here is the forward. This is the most famous one of all of these. Here's the forward version of the very.
I've missed a little bit of it. You've all probably heard of like supposedly songs, like especially rock songs that have things, their parts of it are backwards, and then there's supposedly like satanic messages that are in there backwards, okay? They're always satanic. But anyway, here's a classic one. Here's a very classic one he's demonstrating.
Very famous song.
If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alone there. It's just a sprinkling for the May Queen.
In case you never heard the lyrics, there they are.
Yes, there are 2 paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on.
Boy, can you just listen to that all day? Yeah. All right, here it is backwards, and see if you can hear the hidden messages that are supposedly in there. What'd you get?
What'd you get? How many of you heard Satan several times? 666. Satan's magic number, 666. Okay? So just real, like, all of it was like really hard, undistinguishable, but maybe some of us heard like Satan. Okay? Okay? Now watch what happens. By the way, that clock in the back room, if you're using that, is off. That's too fast. I got a couple minutes. Hold tight. I'll let you go at right now.
Satan. Okay, well, at least we got Satan. Now I will prime your auditory part of your brain to tell you what you're supposed to hear, and then hear it again. You can't miss it when I tell you what's there. All right, I'm going to just end with a positive.
Okay, all right. Very last demonstration of the very same phenomenon. So I bet you've likely seen maybe this or memes like this. Okay, so yeah, what do you hear? And then just read through the list as you listen to this.
That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing.
Hear each one as you look at it.
That is embarrassing. 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 That is embarrassing.
Should I do it again? It's fun. Just like each one, just read each one as it goes through, and you'll like hear vividly each one. And look at how completely different each statement is from the exact same auditory, ambiguous auditory information. And your vision is telling you like, no, this is what you hear now. This is what you hear now. No, this is what you hear now.
That is embarrassing. 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 That is embarrassing.
You could then start to do fun things like read only half of one and then jump to the other one. And you'll hear them blend. You can create your own. Okay. And that's all. That's my favorite stuff. Wait, there's more. But anyway. Okay, so I didn't tell you anything about the course, like your expectations and stuff like that. So please go to Canvas and find the course there. Check the syllabus out. One quick thing about the textbook. I don't know if you all know this, but guess what? Your textbook is going to feel kind of free. Okay? You already paid for it. It's embedded in your tuition, so it's painless. That sounds too good of a deal to be true. Some of you will email me like, how much does a book cost? You already paid for it, okay? So click on the links that are on the course page to get your account set up, and do that as early this week as possible because you got shit due already this weekend, okay? So I'll tell you more about the boring stuff on Wednesday when I see us. So enjoy this first day, and come talk to me if you got any questions or anything, and I'll see you right here on Wednesday. Thanks for being here today. Welcome back.